Set it straight. The Strait of Hormuz again at the center of U.S.-Iran escalation. Iran launching a drone assault targeting Bahrain today, while a ship in the strait also came under attack. And the assault follows overnight airstrikes by the United States in response to an Iranian drone attack yesterday on a ship that was trying to leave the Strait of Hormuz. The IRGC has admitted to firing warning shots toward unspecified vessels, but did not claim responsibility for today's unidentified projectile. And moments ago, U.S. Central Command said the U.S. military has started conducting additional strikes in the area of the strait in retaliation. So where does this leave the fragile U.S.-Iran truce? Let's bring in Waleed Faris, Newsmax foreign policy analyst and former Trump foreign policy advisor, and Jake Soteriadis, author of The Revenge of Ideology and former U.S. Air Force intelligence officer. Great to have you this evening, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So Iran's supreme leader's military advisor posted this on X, quote, America, by supporting the actions of its proxy forces in the region, has violated the first article of the Memorandum of Understanding, and by continuing to create tensions in the Strait of Hormuz, has violated the fifth article. And here was Secretary of State Marco Rubio on Iran.
The president has multiple options at his disposal if Iran goes back on their word or if Iran decides they don't want to make a deal. Let's hope that's not the case. We don't want that to be the case. We're going to give diplomacy every chance to work. We've got a good team working on it. And so if it doesn't work out, the president knows what his options are.
Waleed, Iran accusing the United States of breaking the ceasefire. How concerning is this escalation, and your reaction to the latest here with Iran?
Well, that's very, very expected. I spent the last month talking about projection of what this regime is going to be doing. It's by the book, by the ideological jihadist Khomeini's book, as Secretary Rubio has been saying. But my response to the secretary is, it's gonna be the same. Phase A, we responded to them beginning of January and February, and then we destroyed 80% of their capabilities. We were at 10 inches from finishing it. Then stage B, we gave them a chance without going into the detail. We just gave them a lot of chances. Phase C, they are going to show that they are not on board of the peace process. They cannot. Ideologically, they cannot. So my concern now is how can we move from B to C? I'm at that point. I know that it's going to be on C, but how to do it is going to be a complex process.
Jake, let me turn the conversation to this. The United Kingdom Maritime Trade Operations Center revealing it received a report of a tanker being hit with a projectile in the strait today, and now they've raised the threat level from moderate to substantial. The IRGC now prompting other ships to seek Iranian permits before attempting to cross the strait, according to its own state media. The U.S. and just about every other nation rejecting the installation of transit fees to Iran to pass through the strait. And President Trump continues to say that the U.S. is monitoring and has control of the waterway. So let me ask you this, Jake. You've spent time in the intelligence community. What is your take? Who is really in charge of the Strait of Hormuz? What do you think is actually happening on the water there?
Well, thanks for having me. Look, two things can be true at the same time. The United States has the preponderance of military forces in the region. The United States has the military advantage. But at the same time, the Iranians are able to, via threats and using asymmetric means, like you just talked about, drones, and of course, the threat of their missiles, to basically strike lots of fear into commercial shipping industry and make commercial vessels not want to transit this waterway. So that is, I think, the prime issue right now. One of the big issues as well is the fact that the start of this war, the actual purpose behind it, which you hear from the administration, is that Iran won't get a nuclear weapon. Well, the issue now, the big concern is, of course, making sure that we have the Strait of Hormuz open and free for maritime transit. Now, the Iranians are talking about maintaining permanent control. They've realized that this is their best option. I'll agree with what Dr. Faris said earlier, which is the fact that this is the most ideologically charged regime in the world. I've talked about this a lot. And for them, this is the ultimate showdown right now. They believe on some level that their strategy up to this point is effective. They're trying to gain support in the court of global public opinion. And so they're going to continue to drag this out and obfuscate as much as possible. because they're doing a one-on-one showdown with the United States right now.
Waleed, where does the new exchange of fire leave the status of the MOU?
The MOU is a very stretched, elastic document. So there are many things that the regime wants first. And there are a couple things that we want first. Let's start by us. Of course, the president has made it very clear. He wants the Hormuz Passage to be peaceful. Number one, militarily speaking, that all ships can go. He even went down to explain the detail. The international community of ship owners have communicated to the president that they're not going to be putting $1 million on every ship that passes, and then the insurance, a whole world by itself. That president wants that free passage to happen. Second, more important, is that there should not be any fee. So these are the two demands that the president wants at this point in time. And of course, negotiating the so-called nuclear dust, et cetera, that's going to be taking time. For the regime, it's different. It's 1, 2, and 3 is our money. They want to make sure to have money for that passage. They want to make sure that the transfer of the $24 billion, obviously we're telling them it's going to be in slices. They want large slices. They want the whole thing. And they have this valve, which is the Hormuz Passage. They would immediately shut it down or try to shut it down or threaten they're going to be shutting down if our response is no, stick by the agreement. They're not sticking by the agreement. They want all that money. Plus, of course, they want a free selling of oil and gas. So their perspective is money. Our perspective is security and normalization and international law.
Okay. Waleed Faris, thank you. Dr. Jake Soteriadis, appreciate you both being on.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.